Hi, my name is Desmond Smith, and I am a marriage and family therapist with Yetman Counseling Services. Today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about some of the things that I listen for when I get to work with a couple. People will come to me and they'll bring several issues that they may want to talk about. And regardless of what those issues are, I always find myself listening to these kind of three levels. Sometimes there's more depending on the severity of what needs to be discussed. But I always find myself listening to these three, so I wanted to talk about those today. The first is actually your brain. Everything that we do, everything that we think and feel, our emotions, our beliefs, all of those things have some kind of corresponding process in our brain. There's also parts of our brain that are really tuned into the idea of danger or threat or feeling like you're isolated or alone. The more that we can understand these parts of our brain, the better that we're able to relate to our partner. If we're concerned about being isolated or feeling like we're not connected, those parts of our brain activate. But what we really want to do is learn to calm those parts of our brain so that we can facilitate connection. The second thing that I'm listening for is kind of your childhood. I know it can be kind of cliche to think about your childhood when you're thinking about therapy, but this is not the let's blame your mother kind of processing. This is really about let's try to figure out the lessons that you learned about the world. Every single child has a different experience. For example, maybe as a child you cried because you were hungry. Depending on how your caregivers responded to that, you learned something important about the world. Will the world respond when I communicate? Is there any value in telling people how I feel? Now, obviously, it's a very simple lesson, but it's not like we discard those as we become adults. We actually take those lessons that we learned as a child and we build on those constantly. The more that we can start to tease apart those lessons that we learned, we can also apply those skills to kind of learning how we interact with our partner as well. The last thing I want to talk about is just our experiences. Every single experience that we have impacts who we are. We hear words every day, we hear messages every day from the world around us about our gender, about what success looks like, about what sexuality is supposed to be, about what religion is supposed to be, or what you're supposed to believe in. We hear messages all the time. And the messages that we hear, as well as the experiences that we have and the people that we meet, really do have an impact on the way that we see the world. When you can acknowledge that your partner has a different view of the world than you do, it suddenly becomes about, well, let's learn each other's worldview instead of fighting against it. Why do I tell you all this? When we're working with couples, it's really important to know that a relationship that thrives in terms of intimacy, in terms of connection, in terms of just love, is a relationship that has learned to be able to communicate each other's experience. It's not just communicating what's happening today, but it's being able to communicate with one another that I have this experience from my childhood, or I feel afraid in this moment, and I just need to feel comforted. The more that we can learn about ourselves, the more that we're able to facilitate a connection with the person that we love. So I hope this has been helpful. If you have any questions about couples counseling or even individual counseling, please reach out to us. You can find us online at yetmancounselingservices.com.